Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks for joining us here at KAKM for Monday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting tonight's show. Up first on the fire danger map here, there we go. Still quite an extensive area of extreme fire dangers here over the central and interior Alaska, with it extending back to the west here across from the Koyukuk Valley, back across the Kobuk into the Selawik Valley, and then eastward across the Yukon. Extreme fire dangers down into the central interior and the Tanana Valley over toward the 40-mile country. Copper River Basin, still seeing areas of extreme fire danger there, as well as down into the Kuskokwim and portions of the Yukon Valley areas. Back out to the west here, high fire danger extending all the way down just about to the southwest coast and the Seward Peninsula. High fire danger there across about the entire peninsula areas, and high to very high fire danger still existing down across south central Alaska through the Susitna, Matanuska Valley areas into the Kenai Peninsula, and of course the southern portion of the Copper River Basin and over the western Alaska Range areas. Well, there's no warnings out for extreme fire danger tonight for the low humidity or gusty wind, so we'll just move right on to the satellite imagery. And you can see a pretty nice day here over the southeast coast, partly to mostly sunny skies there. Temperatures rising in some cases into the lower 70s through some areas. And also the low clouds burned off the North Gulf Coast and eventually through Cook Inlet and the Kenai Peninsula up into the south central Alaska area during the day today, but thunderstorms again and showers firing up here through the central interior areas, mostly along the western Alaska Range or the Kuskokwim Range back out toward the Kilbrook Mountain areas and also over the Mulatto Hills, and then areas extending eastward along the Alaska Range. Again, some strikes over the Talkeetnas this afternoon as well as the Wrangels, and then this area of clouds here came across from Kodiak Island yesterday. That brought some isolated thunderstorms there yesterday morning. That moved westward overnight across the Aleutian Range and the peninsula into Bristol Bay. Thunderstorm activity there. And that shifted out from Nunivak Island southward there. That's mostly moving off the coast now and continuing off to the west, but still some isolated lightning strikes occurring over Bristol Bay this afternoon, and again over the southwest interior up along the Kuskokwim Mountains from the Kilbrook Range there. Eastern Norton Sound and Mulatto Hills zone had some thunderstorm activity throughout the day today, and that extended eastward through the central interior areas, and again over the Talkeetnas and the Wrangels and up across the upper Tanana Valley 40-mile country areas, and also some scattered thunderstorms occurring with that trough up there over the eastern Brooks Range and North Slope areas. Otherwise, high pressure back along the western Arctic coast there brought some cooler conditions in along the coastline for what we saw over the weekend there. In fact, Barrow down to 33 degrees with some dense fog throughout the day today. And also smoke here over the Kuskokwim Valley up into the Yukon, extending into the upper Yukon Valley and the Tanana Valley, and also down into the Copper River Basin. That's probably going to stay around for the next few days or foreseeable future. High pressure out over the Bering Sea, that allowed this low cloud deck now to make its way just about right up to Nunivak Island, up to St. Lawrence Island. Gamble, dense fog just about all day long, and that's streaming up on some southwest winds there right into the Bering Strait areas. Otherwise, the Seward Peninsula, sunshine again today. The Yukon Delta, same thing. Sunny skies up across the Chukchi Sea areas. There were some passing clouds here over the North Slope and the Brooks Range areas, and a lot of clouds here over the southeast Bering Sea. Again, that low to mid-level cloud deck, stratocumulus here from the southwest coast. Some of that with the thicker clouds here associated with the showers and thunderstorms over western Bristol Bay. That's moving westward. Scattered showers over the eastern Aleutians, scattered showers and cloudy skies over the central and western Aleutians, a little bit of fog out towards Shimia. Partly sunny skies over Kodiak Island today, except a little more cloudy down on the southern side of things there. But again, the low clouds breaking out here along the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, clearing out over the Kenai Peninsula and Cook Inlet areas this afternoon as well. And pretty good conditions up here again over the north central interior, and the sunshine down along the southeast coastal areas. Tonight, this frontal system should stay to the south, but some of that moisture may stream back to the northwest and bring just a slight chance of rain, light rain to the western Alaska Peninsula and the Fox Islands there, but amounts won't be very much at all. This area shower shifts westward across the Pribilof Islands tonight, so look for some shower conditions to move through that area later on tonight. Thunderstorms still possible up around Nunivak Island. Otherwise, low clouds and fog, high pressure and a light wind gradient, so the low clouds will be quite extensive out here over the Bering Sea, possibly or continuing up into the Bering Strait and even into the Chukchi Sea. And look for low clouds and fog along the western Arctic coast. Could become patchy there on the east side under that area of high pressure, but the North Slope and the Brooks Range areas down into the Koyukuk Valley as well as back to the northwest should remain dry definitely, and for the most part cloud-free. We'll be looking at, again, the evening thunderstorms here from the eastern Norton Sound area through the central interior. Scattered showers, isolated thunderstorms over the Alaska Range and the Wrangell Mountains, again across the eastern and upper Tanana Valley areas all the way up to the upper Yukon Valley. Still some showers there, and again areas of smoke all through this area from the Kuskokwim Valley across the Tanana, the Yukon, down into the Copper River Basin. Some cases will continue to reduce visibilities down to 2 to 3 miles like Fairbanks had this afternoon and Northway had earlier today. So that condition could get even a little more widespread overnight tonight. No change for the Panhandle, just some variable low clouds. Otherwise mostly clear and continued dry with light winds through this area. And light winds also for the Alaska Peninsula, and some scattered showers out over the western Aleutians with quite light winds out here, very little gradient at all, and that high pressure is going to hold out there for the next couple of days. So low clouds, light winds, areas of fog for the western Aleutians into the central areas as well. That shower mass pulls west of the Pribilof Islands, so just look for some mostly cloudy skies, patchy fog there for tomorrow, and again more extensive cloudiness up into the Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island, into the Chukchi Sea. But southwest winds picking up again as this system back here to the northwest approaches the coast, looking for small craft advisories to develop here for the Chukchi Sea and the western Arctic coast tomorrow. 25 to 30 knot winds are in the forecast. Much lighter winds here along the eastern and central Arctic coast. Still a chance of showers over the eastern North Slope and Brooks Range areas. Mostly sunny. Koyukuk Valley back out toward Kotzebue Sound. Seward Peninsula looking really good again. Light winds and sunshine down into the Yukon. And that afternoon thunderstorm threat again from the Kilbrook Mountains up along the Kuskokwim Range, western Alaska Range, and eastward here through the White Mountain areas down into the Wrangell Mountains. Partly sunny though over the Copper River Basin, but still areas of smoke in the valleys over the interior. And mostly sunny skies again, day much like today for the southeast coast tomorrow. But this system down here to the south looks like it's going to make a pretty good jog to the north, because on Wednesday it pushes a band of rain as it comes northward here in across the southern Panhandle. So there's a good chance of rainfall over the central and maybe the southern southeast coast, along with small craft advisory winds out for the south coast of the Panhandle. Also for Clarence Strait, looking for southeast winds to kick up to 25 knots on Wednesday. But the northern areas should remain dry and partly to mostly sunny from Juneau to Haines over to Yakutat, and just some variable clouds along the Gulf of Alaska and the North Gulf Coast and Prince William Sound. Should be a mostly sunny day again over south central Alaska, and that same pattern of the afternoon scattered thunderstorms here again from the Kilbrook Mountains up along the western Alaska Range, possibly in the Kuskokwim Valley as well, and then eastward along the over the Talkeetnas and into the Copper River Basin and up into the upper Tanana Valley. But the upper Yukon Valley southwestward all the way to the Yukon Delta and to the coast, looking mostly sunny and dry ahead of this frontal system that should push a band of light rain as far east as the central Arctic coast around Barrow, and then cutting back across the Noatak Valley areas and just clipping the Seward Peninsula a little bit there. Kind of a narrow area of precipitation. The timing of the front still not quite known exactly, but look for some sort of disturbance to drop into the northwest during the day on Wednesday, and then a stronger system will come in behind that probably later on in the week. And for temperatures this afternoon, 66 at Sitka, 70 degrees both at Annette and at the state capital as well as Wrangell, 71 at Petersburg this afternoon, 61 over at Yakutat, 59 in Cordova, Valdez, 63, about the same over at Palmer with 64, 62 at Kenai, 63 down at Homer, the Copper River Basin, mid-70s there, upper 70s here for the Tanana Valley, Fairbanks smoke and 80 degrees, Tanana 80 degrees also, 75 with smoke at McGrath, and 84 at Bettles. They had the state's high today of 85 degrees, Fort Yukon at 82, lower to mid-70s there through the Brooks Range, Ambler up to 79, and again markedly cooler here along the Arctic coast from the lower 80s they had on the east side there today. Nuiqsut from 80 yesterday or 81 down to 58 today, and Dead Horse down to 55, socked in with fog and low clouds. Barrow 33 degrees, 47 at Wainwright and 59 at Point Lay. 50s down into and around the Cape Lisburne, Point Hope areas. Kivalina at 53 degrees, but Kotzebue 10 degrees up from that. 72 at Buckland, 57 over at Nome, and lower 70s here down the Yukon and Kuskokwim River Valley areas out to the deltas. Kind of a range here along the coast from 70 at Amonic to 50 degrees at Makoriak, and heading out to the west, lower 50s for the Pribilofs today, 52 down at Unalaska, and the 40s out over the Aleutians, with the Alaska Peninsula mostly in the 50s there from 52 at Unalaska, then 67 up at King Salmon, 65 at Iliamna, 55 degrees today in Kodiak. Lows for tonight, 50s here, lower to mid 50s for the southeast coast, and lower 50s here over south central Alaska. Some areas dropping into the mid 40s there down Cook Inlet around Kenai, Soldotna. Otherwise, mild evening here, mostly in the mid to upper 50s overnight tonight for the lows through the Tanana Valley and then back to the southwest, all the way to the coast there with some 40s showing up. Arctic coast, 30s, otherwise milder in over the north slope areas, and then a little cooler 50s here through the Brooks Range. But highs for tomorrow, lower 80s here through the Koyukuk and Tanana valleys again, and upper 70s down in toward McGrath, but still could be some 80-degree temperatures showing up over the Yukon or Kuskokwim Delta tomorrow, with Bethel should push up to 78 tomorrow. Over the Copper River Basin, mid-70s there, Gulkana, and the southeast coast, day much like today, anywhere from 65 to 70 degrees tomorrow for the highs. A little warmer there over Bristol Bay with less cloudiness and more sunshine. Lower 50s again for the Pribilofs, and upper 50s to lower 60s for the Alaska Peninsula. No change out over the Aleutians. And flying weather again, those thunderstorms tomorrow showing up here along the Alaska Range, western Alaska Range, the Kuskokwim Mountains, and again the Kilbrook, and also over the eastern interior. Otherwise, mostly VFR. Be some areas of marginal to possibly IFR due to the areas of smoke here over the interior. But generally speaking, it'll be VFR here from Cook Inlet up to the Arctic coast. IFR there over the Chukchi Sea, and from the Bering Strait southward across St. Lawrence Island. A huge area IFR out over the Bering Sea down into the western Aleutians, but marginal VFR here for the Fox Islands, and marginal VFR mostly off the coast, as well as the IFR staying well off the coast. Could get a little marginal southern Prince William Sound, south coast of the Kenai Peninsula there to eastern Kodiak Island. And the passes for the Brooks Range remaining open, both VFR for Anatuvik and Adigan tomorrow. For Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR, risk of a thunderstorm, and thunderstorm chances also for rainy, but VFR for both rainy and windy tomorrow. Isabel, another VFR day, as well as Mentasta, staying VFR, but areas of smoke for both of those passes possible. And Tanita, VFR conditions. Portage, marginal VFR to start with, especially on the eastern entrance here, becoming VFR by late morning. And Chilkoot and White, VFR once again. Freezing levels, not much of a gradient here again across the state, with still upper level high pressure here through the central interior. 10,000 foot freezing levels all the way from the northwest coast down across the panhandle. A little cooler conditions back across the Alaska Peninsula, 6,000 to 8,000 feet there over the eastern Aleutians, and about the same there over the western and central Aleutian areas. Looking at icing, really none significant anywhere in the state tomorrow. Could be a little bit of this moisture slipping on up to the western Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians. Could give a slight chance of some light rime icing there, but really little chance, if any, even in this area. So pretty icing free across the entire state tomorrow. Winds aloft showing upper high pressure still centered over the interior, and kind of a northwest wind, 55 knots, just skirting the eastern Arctic coast and ridging coming over from the west. But this is the disturbance back here that's going to drop in to the northwest on Wednesday, and then dig a little bit farther to the south Thursday and Friday. Otherwise, the southern jet here stays well to the south. But again, this system will eventually swing up to the north and bring that frontal system and the rain and the increase in the winds into the southern panhandle on Wednesday. Light variable winds at 9,000 feet tomorrow across southern Alaska and the southeast coast. Westerlies 5 to 15 through the north central interior. Stronger up along the Arctic coast there, west 25 to 30 knots. Light northeast winds here, high pressure out over the western Bering Sea there in the Aleutians for light winds, mostly from the north-northeast here, just 10 to 15 knots across all the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. Light variable winds at 9,000 feet, southern Alaska and the Panhandle again. Stronger winds staying to the south, but again, that's going to scoot up to the north tomorrow night and on Wednesday. Otherwise, southwesterlies 25 to 30 knots there for the western Arctic coast. Turbulence-wise, really not too much significant here across the interior. None except back here along the western Arctic coast. That mechanical turbulence due to those southwest winds will be on the increase tomorrow and on Wednesday here from the Bering Strait up across the western Arctic coast. Could be some light to isolated moderate turbulence there. And otherwise, maybe the Alaska Peninsula and the Trinity Islands are just south of Kodiak, and that's about it. Pretty smooth out over the western Bering, or all of the Bering Sea and the Aleutians as well as the interior. And after the break of Hanger Flying, I'll be back with the marine forecast.
Good evening, I'm Harry Keeling, and on behalf of the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation and Alaska Public Media, welcome to Hanger Flying. Tonight our guest is Sherry Hart. Sherry is the Executive Director of the Alaska Aviation Museum. She's been around Alaska since 1989 and done a lot of pretty interesting things. She's worked for the Alaska Native Heritage Center, the Alaska Railroad, in Denali Park, and she's been with the Aviation Museum for 10 years and as Executive Director for 3. And if you're like me, and I'm sure most if not all of you in the audience, we're very proud of the Aviation Museum. It's very unique, and I got to tell you, if you haven't visited it, you should. I love going over there, and it's something that we as Alaskans can be very proud of. Sherry, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you, Harry.
Let's talk a little bit about the museum. How do you keep the doors open?
Well, right now, the tourist season is here, so we're open 7 days a week, 9 to 5. So between admissions, gift store sales, memberships, and donations, that kind of keeps us moving forward. When we apply for special grants, it helps us go beyond that and do special projects, special exhibits, special restoration projects. Right now we're restoring a Stinson L1, thank you to the Rasmussen Foundation.
Talk about the membership fees.
I'd be happy to. For an individual membership, it's $50, and a family membership is $75. We also have what you call a lifetime membership, which is $675. And I'd like to add that one of our members just bought a lifetime membership, and he's 94 years old. So talk about optimistic thinking.
Who is that?
Orrin Hudson.
Oh my goodness, what a pioneer.
Mm-hmm.
So it is just, again, kind of on the finances, do you get most of your income from membership fees?
Not most of it. I would say the majority of it comes from admissions and gift store sales. But memberships, we're always looking for new members, as you are with the Aviation Safety Foundation. And it's an affordable way to support the museum, plus come in and visit, especially when you have those visiting friends and relatives. I always tell people, drop them off at the museum, leave them with us for 2-3 hours, we'll take care of them for you.
So a couple of other services that you provide, one of them is as a venue for special events. Talk about that.
Well, we rent the museum out for anything from birthday parties to retirement parties, weddings, memorials, you name it. We can do it there. We can fit about 120 people in our main hangar, but we also have the Odom hangar that's now all heated and has electricity, and that'll fit about 250 to 300 people. And our newest addition, the Merrifield Tower, is absolutely spectacular. We've done a high school graduation in there. We're doing a wedding reception in there actually this weekend. You have the best view of Lake Hood and Lake Spenard, and you're also in a piece of history.
So maybe people in the audience who haven't thought about this but don't have the picture. So, I mean, are we talking about a tower?
Yes, the original Merrifield Tower was sitting on the shore. It was taken down and brought to Lake Hood, and last year we were able to get a grant and restore it. And we have also the tower, the live tower, getting piped in it, so you can hear the tower talking and watch the airplanes go by. And the fact that we're on the world's busiest float plane base is pretty exciting to watch those float planes take off and land.
Can you give the viewers an idea of the rates?
Sure, it's $250 an hour for the main hangar, the Odom hangar, or the tower. If you're a member of the museum, you get a 10% discount, and nonprofits also get a 10% discount.
Okay. One other question. We've just got just about a minute and a half left. I know you have a lot of volunteers who do the restorations. Talk a little bit about the opportunities there for volunteers.
Well, the museum wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the hard work that our volunteers put in. And of course, we're always looking for more volunteers. We just got several new ones to sign up to be docents, some retired airplane mechanics and pilots, and it's just a pleasure to have their knowledge and experience around. People come to the museum and they want to meet Alaskans, and they can meet Alaskans right there that have flown all around Alaska and are able to share their stories.
Nice. Sherry, thanks for what you do. Thanks for managing that treasure. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed tonight's program. And like the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation, I'm going to ask you to support the museum. It really is one of a kind, something we're very proud of, and we enjoy taking our out-of-town guests to see. So please continue supporting the Aviation Museum and, of course, the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation. And in that regard, please renew your membership for 2015 if you haven't, and stop by the museum. Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, fly safe.
Well, this was the state of the sea ice a week ago. We still had some in these areas here and a patch of ice remaining in eastern Kotzebue Sound. Well, that has since gone sea ice free there. And today shows it extending from about the central Arctic coast here, generally in a westerly direction, then taking a turn to the south there. And over the next 5 days, it's due to take a net push to the south, forecast to anyway, at 10 nautical miles. Southwesterly winds coming in the next couple of days will tend to push that back 20 to 30 nautical miles to the north and northeast. And then when the northwest and north winds come in Thursday and Friday, that's when it'll make a jog back to the south. Coastal forecast here, southeasterly winds 10 to 15 knots over the outside waters. Inner channels south 10 to 20 knots. And then when that next system comes up from the south here, again, the small craft advisories for the central and south coast in the forecast, east to southeast up to 30 knots, Clarence Strait southeast 25 knots. Southerly winds kicking up to 25 knots Wednesday afternoon for northern Lynn Canal. And for Prince William Sound, variable winds at 10 knots, light variable winds 10 knots here under high pressure along the North Gulf Coast. Easterlies at about 15 there for the Barren Islands, taking a more southeast direction off to the northwest there across Kamishak Bay. And for Cook Inlet, north of the Forelands, southwesterlies at about 15 knots, more southerly here south of the Forelands. East winds 20 knots for the east side of Kodiak Island, northeast at 20 down across Shelikof Strait. And the outlook for Wednesday, northeast winds here, Kodiak Island, 15 to 20 knots, light variable winds for Kamishak Bay, southwest breeze at 10 up Cook Inlet, and northeast winds for the North Gulf Coast at about 15 knots with 5-foot seas, light variable conditions for Prince William Sound. For Bristol Bay, tomorrow, light variable winds there as well with seas at about 2 feet. Otherwise, northeast winds 25 knots, so the small craft advisories continue here from Sitkinak all the way along the Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula, lighter on the Bering Sea side. And then for Wednesday, those winds turn northerly and drop down to about 20 knots here on the Pacific side of the peninsula. Light southwest wind at 10 knots forecast for Bristol Bay. Out in the Aleutians, for the Fox Islands, north to northeast, 15 to 20 knots tomorrow, and light variable winds over the western zone. Pretty light northerlies here, just 10 to 15 knots for the central Aleutians. And that doesn't change much. This becomes northwesterly, still holding light, 10 knots or less, seas 4 to 5 feet. Light variable winds at 10 knots or less for the western Aleutians. And the Fox Islands, a little bit more of a breeze going on there, northerlies at 15 with seas running at about 5 feet. And for the southwest coast, north to northwest, 15 knots. Westerly winds at 20 knots here for St. Lawrence Island. Northeast, 10 for the Pribilofs, and then those become 20 knots. Small craft advisories here south of Nunivak Island on Wednesday. Small craft advisories for St. Lawrence Island for those increasing westerlies. Up along the Arctic coast, light winds here on the east side, and southwest 30 knots here on the western Arctic coast. Good for small craft advisories there, and that continues here over the southern areas, or expands, becomes southwest 25 there for the Wales to Cape Lisburne area. And then southwesterlies 20 knots for the central and eastern Arctic coast, lighter toward demarcation point. And for tonight, areas of low clouds and patchy fog again, mainly along the central Arctic coast, possibly the east side. Scattered thunderstorms here through the central interior and into the eastern Alaska Range area, as well as the eastern interior areas, but staying dry over the Panhandle, and just partly cloudy skies, becoming mostly cloudy after midnight for south central Alaska, with areas of smoke over the interior that continue into tomorrow. Again, the thunderstorm threat there along the Kuskokwim and Alaska Range down to the Kilbrook Mountains. Showers and thunderstorms again popping up scattered here over the eastern interior down in toward the Wrangell Mountains. Mostly sunny skies for the southeast coast, mostly sunny over the northwest interior. Then this front pushes a band of rain in, making landfall along the northwest coast, possibly as early as Tuesday night, and at the latest pushing inland during the afternoon on Wednesday there. As far as Barrow, back to the southwest along the northern Seward Peninsula, a band of light rain. Have a great evening.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.